Hello everyone! I just rewatched Godzilla vs. Biollante, which I discussed a few years ago as part of my Godzilla review series. I don't intend to review the whole film again, but I do have some thoughts I'd like to share, so here we go! Quick reminder for anyone who needs it, Godzilla vs. Biollante came out in 1989, and it's technically the first of 6 Heisei-era Godzilla films released between 89 and 95, but it also piggybacks off of 1984's Return of Godzilla, and includes footage from that film in the opening. When a sample of Godzilla's cells is lifted from some rubble, it becomes the center of an international bioweaponry arms race. Everybody wants to get their hands on these cells in order to develop a new superweapon, so there are foreign agents running around trying to steal them and invading Japanese labs, which are conducting questionable studies on bioengineering and crossbreeding. Meanwhile, the film also introduces Miki Sagusa, a girl with extrasensory perception who has the ability to connect with kaiju. She ends up being the central recurring character in the Heisei series, and I can tell you from personal experience that even if you find the introduction of ESP random and bizarre in this first entry, gradually you come to accept it. And it's nice to have a human character appear so consistently. That's one of the things I liked the most about the Heisei era. I've been wanting to rewatch this movie for some time, and I finally got a chance to check out the Blu-ray edition put out by Echo Bridge. One thing I was especially excited about was getting to watch the movie in its original Japanese with English subtitles as opposed to the English audio dub, which is all that was available to me before. So I selected Japanese audio. There are actually 3 subtitle options: English translation of on-screen text, English subtitles translated from original Japanese dialogue, and English SDH subtitled to match the English audio track. What is SDH? I'm going to look that up later. I do think I found the story easier to follow this time, but that might not just be because of the subtitles, it might be because I'd seen the movie already, and when I reviewed it in 2019, I went through it twice. I watched it the first time, and then I went through it again as I was working on my review. As far as these subtitles go, I did find some mistakes. They could have used a little more proofreading, and so that was rough, and it was distracting for me because I pick up on that kind of thing, and the more mistakes there are, the more I start to keep track of them, and so it was kind of an issue. It wasn't a huge issue, and some people wouldn't notice it at all. I do like that the dialogue spoken in English in the film is still in English rather than translated and dubbed into Japanese. That always seemed silly to me. But it is kind of disconcerting for your ears and your brain when you're going along listening to the dialogue, not expecting to understand a word, and then suddenly the sounds of the language change and you're like, wait a minute, is this English? And in this case, some of the English lines are spoken with a heavy accent, and I felt like, oh my goodness, this is my native tongue, and I need subtitles to translate this. I don't know how it is for other people listening to Japanese or any foreign film, if they're actually listening to the language even though they don't understand it. I do. When I watch a foreign movie, my brain is very active. I'm paying attention to how the film looks, and the acting, the performances, the character development, and the story, and all of that, and I am reading, but as I am reading, I am also listening to what they're saying, and trying to pick out words that I can recognize. And I think that is why, when they suddenly switched to English, it's like, because, well, the subtitles stop, and then you're like, wait a minute, why didn't they translate that? Oh, because I'm not supposed to need a translation. What? So I don't know how it is for other people when they watch these movies. But that's what's going on with me. It's probably excessive. I was still much happier watching with the original Japanese audio, though. That is always going to be my preference. It just sounds so much better and more logical to have the actors speak with their own voices. That is half of the performance, at least. It makes so much more sense than having these presumably American voices coming out of their mouths. And the dubbed line readings are often so flat, and it seems to be the same 4 or 5 people doing all of the dialogue, and to me, it's just so much easier to take the actors and their characters seriously without the phony voices. And therefore, it's easier to take the story seriously, which you are supposed to do, at least to a certain extent. I was also looking forward to hearing the music again in context, since I ended up enjoying it after listening to it on this CD, Best of Godzilla 1984 to 1995. I did a video on this a couple years ago. I came to feel that I hadn't been able to appreciate the fan-favorite track Bio Wars as it's played in the film because it was drowned out by the action. So I was eager to revisit those scenes and see if maybe the music was more prominent on the Blu-ray. Well, it wasn't. It's still pretty muted. It was composed by Koichi Sugiyama with themes by Akira Ifukube. The timing of the Ifukube cues is perfect, but the new music is really nice too, and Bio Wars is a fun, groovy track. I didn't appreciate it before, but I've really come to enjoy it. Now, I've got a few more random observations I'd like to share, so I'm just gonna fire those out. The part where the kids proudly hold up their drawings of what they dreamt of, and it's a sea of Godzillas, is still one of the best scenes, and I think it's one of my favorite scenes in the franchise. I had greater appreciation this time for the storyline with Dr. Shiragami, who's a somewhat mysterious character motivated by grief over the loss of his daughter Erica. He's kind of a stoic Dr. Frankenstein, running clandestine experiments, putting cells together that were never meant to be combined, but he has no malicious intent. He just wants to create an immortal plant species for his daughter. If he's Dr. Frankenstein, then of course Biollante is his monstrous, groaning creation. And because I followed the explanation of Biollante's genesis better this time, I recognized the significance of Biollante and Godzilla's meeting, where Biollante is essentially Godzilla's mutated twin, Godzilla in plant form. I still laughed at the guys who are clearly supposed to look cool and edgy, but they definitely aren't. And there's one actor who's just terrible. I like the alert level cutaways. I think that's a neat Michael Crichton-esque touch. I do like the Heisei era's take on Godzilla, but I think the design is a little rougher here. They improved it in later films. They smoothed out some things. I also realized I almost feel bad bringing this up because I do like the suit. I do like the Heisei Godzilla look. But, and I know I talked about this when I reviewed the movies before, he's got these thick legs, he's got thunder thighs, and this time I noticed for the first time that they reminded me of chubby baby legs. And chubby baby legs are adorable on a baby, but maybe not what you want on your monster. I did not go back and rewatch my old review because I hate watching my own videos. But I do seem to recall saying that I found the section where they're trying to destroy Godzilla to be tedious. And I still feel that way. It's fine for a while, and I like the Super X2 theme music, but it's a little too much of the same thing, and it becomes dull. And this is a problem in quite a few Godzilla films and other kaiju films. In this case, though, because it is kind of getting to a point where you're like, okay, let's do something else. Evolved Biollante's arrival is perfect timing. It's the best part of the movie. This is the part everyone seems to remember most. It's how Biollante is most commonly depicted, rather than in giant rose form. Everything about this sequence is great. The disgusting sound effects, the green goop flying everywhere, the violent shaking as Biollante lumbers forward. It's so good. I think Biollante is one of Godzilla's most creative and memorable opponents. It's an awesome, terrifying thing with this gross but fascinating design, especially the head and mouth with all those big teeth and that gaping maw. But countering the grotesqueness of the thing itself is the twisted reality of its genetic makeup and the sad circumstances of its origin. The fact that Biollante is an unnatural thing that never should have existed, and is both a fearsome killer creature and the spirit of a sweet young woman, adds interesting complexity to the story, and makes Biollante a kaiju unlike any other. So those are some additional observations I had after rewatching Godzilla vs. Biollante. I hope you enjoyed this review. You can check out my old video to hear my impressions on the entire movie, and feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Even if you were here 4 years ago and you commented on the film the first time I discussed it, I would love to hear from you again. I'll see you next time with another review. Thanks for watching.